just want it to work. It wouldn't be a talk without some technical difficulties. Well, it worked for you, so I imagine it will work for me with just a moment. Okay, anyone know any good jokes? I mean, other than plugging into this, of course. 1 second.
The settings are probably different.
Yes, I imagine they are, but this was not. I mean, I don't know what to tell you. That? I don't think so. That's something completely different.
Do you know how to use it?
I mean, I've done this, yeah. But we didn't plug mine in, did we? Hold on, try that. How about that? There we go. Right. That's the high point of the talk, by the way. It's all downhill from here. So my name's Oliver Emberton. I am the CEO of Silktide. We are doing a lot of things, but predominantly AI optimization of websites. But let's not talk about that today. Instead, let's hope this works. Yes. Today, we're going to be talking about vibe coding. I'm going to take you through, I think, 5 points. Firstly, what is vibe coding, in case you don't already know? How big of a deal is it really? I mean, there's a lot of hype going around, but there's a lot of hype doing that for AI right now. Is it all nonsense? Is it really changing the world? Spoiler, yes. And so we're going to look at what does this mean, and that's going to be specific implications, particularly for many of you who maybe work. I'm kind of curious, show of hands, who here works in any kind of tech software company? About a third, I'd say. All right, and who here's tried vibe coding before in any form? Ooh, about 25%. Okay, all right. This will be interesting. So a lot of people, for example, may find themselves being adjacent to programming. You know, like they're, say, a designer, right? They work with programmers. You'll find a lot of you are very deeply affected by this. We're going to do a live demonstration where I am going to ask the studio audience to give me something and I'm going to try and program it. That never goes wrong. And then you're going to get a chance to not go wrong as well. So if you are following along at the end, you don't need to do anything during the talk, but at the end I'm going to sort of point you in the direction of some tools. Even if all you have is a web browser, you can try and build something today in like 10 minutes, right? And I'll show you how. So if that sounds interesting, what the heck is vibe coding? You might think you know. Well, yesterday, believe it or not, we actually celebrated Vibe Coding Day. Now, that is actually not true. Well, it is true, but I made it up. Vibe Coding Day, complete invention of my own. But I didn't choose today because a year ago yesterday, Anjay Kapathi, the guy who coined the phrase vibe coding, tweeted this along with some more stuff. And he described it as a new kind of coding I call vibe coding, where you fully give in to the vibes, embrace exponentials, and forget the code even exists. It does sound like he was high when he wrote that. And to be honest, it probably helped. But he may not have known it at the time. This ended up being Collins Dictionary's word of the year, vibe coding. Despite the fact it's 2 words. But they're a dictionary, they don't know those things. Anyway, so what is vibe coding? Anyone want to throw up their hand and guess? What is vibe coding? How would you define it? Who's feeling frisky? This guy. Coding with AI, a common explanation and completely sort of correct, but I'm going to go further. Anyone else? No code or low code? Yeah, anyone else? Take one more. Explaining in plain English. I will say that is the closest. Yeah, so I would say it's programming with natural language. So traditionally, programming is you learn a technical language, right? You learn symbols and it doesn't matter. You learn some archaic or arcane language that sounds impenetrable to most people. And now you don't need to. Now you just kind of talk to a computer and it happens. And we're going to see that. So I'm going to take one I made earlier. Now, this could be tricky because I realize I'm not really hands-free here. But see if this works. Okay, so Oh, I can't use this, of course. This is a website. So this website, just to give you a feel, and it is actually the website of Age of AI, which is what I run for all the AI events in Austin. But this has got, it's quite a nice website. I don't know if you can see that. It's got like little animations, and it's got some guy here. I don't know who this guy is, but apparently it talks about him. And there's cool things here, like, see this little animation at the top? Isn't that nice? I move my mouse, and it kind of rotates in. I don't know if you can see that. It's actually moving with my mouse. And there's things here that may not seem that clever, but all the events here are pulled off Luma. So Luma's the platform that you guys probably registered on, and it actually talks to it via an API, and it pulls down all the records for all that stuff. And then lastly, there's this bit I'm particularly proud of. This is a chart of how AI is advancing, and this is pulling real research data off the internet, and it's updating it pretty much in real time, right? And you can go in here and you don't have to know what any of this means, but you can like look at the future of AI. So, let's look 3 years in the future based on current trends, and we'd see that, all that kind of stuff, right? And there's all this research that's pulled to do it, and all you can dive into that. And I built all of this and also an editor, so I could go into it and I can change all the content and I can sync all the research and all of that. I built everything you just saw there in 3.5 hours. Now, if you know anything about building websites or apps, that is not a reasonable time frame. That is a completely insane time frame, and historically I would have employed contractors or whatever and spent far too much time. And I didn't. I took half of a weekend. Well, actually, I took half of a day of a weekend, and I did that. And I actually probably got a better outcome than I would have if I decided to pay someone and then spend more than 3.5 hours explaining to them what I wanted. If you think about that. Because it takes more than 3.5 hours to describe that. But when you can do it yourself, you don't need to. Now, I code a lot, and people say, yeah, I code a lot. No, I really code a lot. Let me clarify for you. This is 2016. So if any of you have heard of a platform called GitHub, they do these little diagrams. There's like one person who just fell over there at the background, too much tequila. They show you a box for every day of the year that you do any code. And so grey are the ones you didn't. You'll notice in this year, I coded every single day except for 5 days, one of which was New Year's Eve, and 4 of which I was hit by a car. So that was 17,593 separate commits I made during that year. Now, you're like, okay, well, that's cute, but what about subsequent years? Well, they're all like that. So I've been programming a while, a little bit dialed down, but still. So when I say this, I've programmed operating systems, I've programmed since I was 8. I've done all the crazy things. I don't look at code anymore. And I'm about the person who would look at as much code as anyone has ever looked at, and I don't bother anymore. And it's not just me. If you look at the people who code the most now, if you look at the people who like literally invented Linux or whatever, you'll see them doing the same thing we're talking about here. So this isn't just some edge case thing where it's like some people are just having fun and, I don't know, coding in their pants or whatever. This is actually where real programming is getting done at this point. And as by way of evidence, that is that is the number of lines of code I added and the number of lines of code I subtracted on Saturday and Sunday this week. So, yeah, that is the thing that you can do now. Anyway, to be fair, I am crunching for a deadline, but still. Now, how big of a deal is all this really? Well, you've probably heard there's been an explosion of AI coding platforms, right? So you've probably heard of some of these: Cursor, Lovable, Manus, V0, and there's a bunch of less famous ones like Anti-Gravity, Windsurf, Replit. I've put OpenAI here. They released one yesterday called Codex. It's a Mac-only app. It's actually quite good. But I literally couldn't get a logo for it because it's so new that Google hasn't indexed their logo. And that's kind of the state of AI right now, where there's something new literally every day. There's a reason there's an explosion for this, because this is the only way code is going to go. Now, to give you a quick example, I'm going to take a prompt, which is build me a to-do app with light to dark mode. That is about the simplest go-to prompt I have if you want to try out one of these platforms. And I'm going to throw it into Manus. Now, if I throw it in here, you will see it designed this quite aesthetically pleasing, actually. Background, it's got all this like wispy curves and all this thing. It's got a light and dark mode as requested. What you can't see here is it has animation. It's actually quite beautiful. And you click on it and all the things fade and transition away. And it cost me $1.70 and took 7 minutes. I literally typed that in, pushed a button, got that outcome. And I can publish it onto the internet in 20 seconds. You'll have a chance to play with the same thing later, although you won't have to pay $1.70. Now, Lovable, another one, similar space. Slightly less refined aesthetic, you might say, but it's cheaper. 87 cents, 3 minutes. This is something you'll identify. There are lots and lots of platforms. They all have their own kind of quality, right? Some of them, like Manus, tend to do a lot more work for you. They'll kind of lean in and try and be your personal design assistant. Others you'll see later are a bit more bare bones, but they'll do exactly what you ask for. So they may be more in line with actually what you want. You'll have to see. But yeah, $87 cents, 3 minutes. Cursor, my personal preference, may look not as aesthetically pleasing. I was using a fancy pants model here. So Opus 4.5 is basically a smart AI by Claude. But 36 cents and 67 seconds. Now, it's a bit more bare bones, but the thing Cursor in this case, what it's doing, is more or less just following exactly what I told it. It didn't go further. Manus kind of tries to go further. And then here's Cursor using Composer 1, which is their dumb but incredibly fast and cheap model. It cost me 5 cents and took 17 seconds. Now, that's so quick that you basically can barely sip from your cup of coffee before it's done. Also, not on these slides, but for perspective, yesterday we were trying a brand new AI that came out yesterday, and a colleague of mine ran a prompt, and it ran for 90 minutes. To give you an idea, so it programmed 90 minutes, it wrote 400,000 lines of code. Anyway, special honor to V0, which was free and took 2 minutes, but unfortunately didn't quite work. There was no light mode, hence the one screenshot. But it was free, so, you know. And you'll see this trade-off. Dumber models are cheaper. Now, to put all that in perspective, if you're looking here, cheapest model cost around 5 cents, most expensive around 170, and it's not just the model, it's like the system and the things that go around it. You're going to have to find your personal preference for these kind of things. But what I would like to calibrate you with is what a mid-range developer / human would cost for roughly the same thing. Now that's my best estimate based on, I consulted multiple people here, but like the amount of time required to write what that was. The funny thing is, not only would it have taken roughly 10 hours and cost $800 for the Manus version, but no one would ever do that. Almost no programmer would do that work, and no one would pay a programmer to do that work, because no one wants to be paid to do a crappy to-do app. It's not worth the effort. And there's so much you can vibe code which is not worth the effort for a real programmer, but suddenly becomes possible. You can be like, I always wanted that app that will remind me, I don't know, my grandmother's favorite pizza recipe or whatever the heck, and visualize it in 3D, and now you can have it, because it'll cost you $2. And that makes it possible. So anyway, let's talk about 3 things this means in the real world, and particularly if you're commercially applying AI. So I'm going to break these down into things that are tired and things that are wired. And if you get that reference, then you read the correct magazine, but I don't know if anyone here does. One guy's nodding. Excellent. Okay, good. So what is tired? Process. Oh, we love process so much, don't we? Especially in industry. We love the idea that we can have a correct way to do things, and we can study it, and we can refine it, and we can master it, and it's all dead. It's all completely dead. Every process that you know is pretty much going to go out the window. I'm going to show you some examples. Instead, building. Now, I'm simplifying, but let me show you. So we've all pretty much, depending on what we do, come across something like this. There's many versions of this, where you learn that to build software, for example, you're supposed to understand your customer. You're supposed to build complex profiles and psychological analysis of what they want and what they need and what will satisfy them. And then once you've got that, then you create hypotheses, and you create low fidelity prototypes and high fidelity prototypes, and you do all this stuff, right? And we don't do that, or at least increasingly we do a hell of a lot less. Because it isn't needed. Like this, for example, this is from 2 months ago in my own company. This is part of a massive 400-page Figma file which covers guides on how to do button labeling. It's a real thing. And we've just got acres and acres of this stuff, and most of it's gone because most process exists to reduce costs and risks in something that doesn't cost anymore. So when you were worried about giving a project to a developer or a team of developers and they would work on it for 6 months before you got an outcome, it made a lot of sense to do all of that prime work. But increasingly it doesn't. The cost of getting usable code, notice I'm not saying good code, but usable code and usable design is approaching zero. It's not zero, but it's much, much, much lower than it was. And so suddenly the dynamic changes. It's now just cheaper to build things and refine them. And so just to give you a feel, we've had features where I'll give you an example. Actually, this was because I have to train my own staff, because even in their case, they're like learning this in real time, like we all are. We would have product designers who historically would do things, they would draw things and do all the sketches and research, and then they'd hand them over to developers. But we got them to become programmers. We got them to just skip that and describe the ideas they had to a computer, and they were actually building working features in like an hour, as opposed to spending a week or two of drawing pictures and coming back and forth and back and forth. Now, what else is tired? Typing. God, I hate typing. I mean, I'm quite good at it, but it's pointless. We don't do typing anymore. Who does typing here? Dinosaurs, my God. No, you want to be speaking. Ha. Now, this is controversial, and people will always disagree with me, but it doesn't matter because you're wrong. So typing, you're going to get, on average, around 45 words per minute. I know there are people who can type more than that, congratulations, but most of you can't. So 45 words per minute is roughly average. And speaking, you can get around 200 words per minute. So you can be roughly 4 times faster just by swapping from text to speech, except, of course, we know that you can't, because we've used Alexa, and we've used, I'm going to say this word, it's going to light up all your phones, Siri, sorry. And we know they suck, but unfortunately that's not representative of what you can actually do. Modern day speech platforms, you have to be using the right ones, are freaking incredible. And I don't code with a keyboard anymore, at all. And it used to be you had to, because you needed to type in the arcane syntax and all the brackets and everything and get it perfect. You don't need to do that anymore. You're all about expressing yourself and your ideas as fast as humanly possible. And I want you to imagine, if you weren't talking to a computer, imagine you were talking to a marketer or a programmer, and you were trying to brief them on what you wanted. And you'd probably go, hey, can we meet face to face and I'll tell you what I want? That's what you'd do. What you wouldn't do is say, hey, can I send you my brief via text message? Because that's what you're doing. When you're typing, you're like, type in my crappy little requirements. It's much easier to just talk. And I honestly think this is one of those areas which is going to divide like an old and a new generation. You're going to see all the young whippersnappers coming up and engaging with this autonomously. It's just the way they're going to work. And there's going to be this whole generation of people, in my day, we never used to talk to computers. And you don't want to be that group. So you want to be typing. You want to be speaking. Oh. Reid Hoffman said, I am voice pilled. I love that. He's not wrong. Once you try this, you won't go back. And my one suggestion, I don't get paid or anything by these guys, but Whisper Flow is great for this. This is free to try. When you try this, you'll thank me later. Seriously, it's amazing. I'm going to use it later, you'll see, because I'm not going to type on this thing like some kind of dinosaur creature. I'm just going to press a button and talk to it. And you'll see how good it is. So, among other things that you may not be expecting this to do, if you do something with your voice, so say you say a word it's never heard before, and it gets it wrong, because you'd expect that, you just correct it. You know, you go back and delete it and correct the spelling. It sees you do that, and it corrects it, so next time it knows the correct spelling. Just does it automatically. Stuff like that, it's wild. Anyway, I now talk to a computer routinely like this. So I'm not sure how best to do this, but have you seen The Matrix? There's this cool hacker scene. And you're like, what? This isn't a product specification. This isn't code. This is how you work with computers now. We're basically all Tony Stark. So you're getting into voice helps. The other thing that goes with that, it's adjacent, is its natural language. So things you may not realize, a computer can understand natural language. It can also understand natural imagery. So for example, if you have an idea, and this will work with vibe coding platforms, draw it on a piece of paper, get your napkin, take a photo on your phone, put it in your thing. Guess what? It can program it. If you haven't tried that, it's kind of wild. And that's a really bad screenshot. Like, it should look beautiful. There's much better versions of that nowadays. Anyway, last thing that's tired and wired. Well, skill. Oh, overrated. No one wants skill anymore. It's kind of gone the way of the dinosaur. Instead, we have judgment, which it turns out is actually a lot more fun. Not that skill is without any merit, but most design now, most design by volume, can be automated. So historically, when we had designers, a lot of what they were doing was kind of identical designs to what other people did. You know, can you do me a login page? And it kind of, any login page would be fine within reason. But like I said, this was $1.70 and it works. That wasn't $1.70 to design it, that was $1.70 to build it and have it working. That's not bad. Now, is that my personal choice? No, but the point is you can get design that's around that level for that price, and that's not going to get any worse. It's going to get better and cheaper. So commodity design, kind of automated. Code, likewise. So something like this is the top of maybe a couple hundred lines that just deals with light and dark mode, right? That used to be a whole skill. You had to learn programming for 2 years to do that. Now you don't. It's commodity. Anyone can do it. It takes 2 seconds. Most QA as well, people don't realize. So if you haven't tried this, and you'll see with some of the platforms like Manus will do this, Cursor will do this, you don't just write your software, you say what your success is. So for example, write the to-do app and then test it, and it will open a browser and it will load its own software and it will play with it and it will try and break it, and then when it's happy that it works or whatever, it'll say it's done, and otherwise it'll fix its own problems and it'll stop. And that's normal. People think, oh, we need humans to do that. No, the base level of QA is already automated, if you want. Oops, sorry. Yeah, like that. But exceptional judgment cannot be automated. So what on earth do I mean by that? Because I actually think I'm incredibly optimistic. A lot of people hear all this stuff and they think, oh God, all the humans are dead, we're all going to lose our jobs. No, quite the opposite. I actually think we're moving more and more into a world of far greater creativity and expression. You know how you saw my little Age of AI website? I had tons of fun with that. I never would have spent money on that, and if I had, I would have done a worse thing because I'd be spending money. Instead, I'm expressing myself creatively. Now take a look at one of my favorite software companies. They're called No More Boring Apps. And they're No Boring Apps. And they build software that is specifically designed to just be interesting. Take a look, if this works. So they do things like calendar apps or weather apps, and they've just gone out of their way to be like, wouldn't it be cool if, so like when they do like a calendar, they'll like stamp the numbers in 3D like this or something, right? Or like the clouds are like 3D symbols of the moon, all that kind of stuff. Now the thing is, if you've played with vibe coding, this is the kind of thing that you can build, right? But the limit on here is not how to program anymore. The limit here is not many people will think like that. Not many people will come up with creative and interesting ways that, I don't know, you could display the weather or whatever. Judgment is going to become, or is becoming, the primary barrier to building well, which is actually really empowering, and means I think that all the creatives in this space, all the people who work in this space, are going to raise their standards because, frankly, the commodity stuff is all going to be just baseline. Anyway, to summarize, process is tired, we're building, typing is tired, we're speaking, and skill is tired, we're all judges now. Let's try a live demo, shall we? Now, this can never go wrong. So I suggest my prompt here for you guys is a 1980s video game. And I say that because it's both fun and because I'm not saying 2010s video game because we're not writing The Witcher or anything right now, sorry. Let's keep it basic. But does anyone want to come up with an idea for a video game of that era? It doesn't have to be exactly 1980s, but what I mean is stuff in the kind of Tetris, Space Invaders, kind of, old school games, Frogger, anything like that. Anyone want to throw up their hand? Space Invaders from the perspective of the aliens. How would that work? That is actually interesting. So you would move left and right and try and bomb the... That could be kind of fun. We could try that. All right, that's a good prompt. Anyone else? We just got that one. All right. Cool. Well, I'm going to use Cursor. Now, this is just my preference, okay? So this is my tool. Cursor's kind of the pro tool, or one of the pro tools. So don't worry too much if you don't know everything that's going on. I'm going to just do a live demo and we'll see what happens. So, of course, the first thing that's going to happen is it's going to share the wrong screen. Come on, Cursor. All right. So let's create a new project. So I'm just going to create an T2 or whatever. That'll do. Right. Okay, so again, you don't need to know exactly what's going on here. I will zoom in a bit just to make that a little bit bigger. So the main thing that you need to know about is there's a big fat prompt box and you can tell it to do stuff. There's more to it, of course, but we're just going to start there. And so this will be fun. create a Space Invaders game, but from the perspective of the invaders. Now, that, by the way, you'll notice it just typed that for me, because why would I type? And then we'll just try that. Now, I have no godly idea. That's not a particularly detailed prompt, but let's start there and see what happens. So what is it doing? Well, right now it's thinking. It thought for 5 seconds, and it's going to try defending against Earth's forces. Let me build this as a browser-based game with HTML, CSS, and it's going to start coding. Now, this is what we call agentic behavior. If you're just used to stuff like ChatGPT, then you've seen a sort of a surface level version of this, where you maybe see it write a comment or something, maybe do some basic web searches. With agents like this, they can go crazy. They can open up entire computers on the internet. They can create servers, they can run browsers, they can click on things, they can do all sorts of stuff. They can install packages on your computer. And of course, they can write code. So in this case, this is going to work for a while. Now, I also should say that in this case, I chose Opus 4.5, which is me choosing a fancy pants smart AI. A thing you will definitely find, and it is a skill you cultivate, is that there are different models, and some of the models out there are brilliant but expensive. Some of them are cheap but incredibly stupid, and that's obvious. But then there's nuance. There's things where, like, Opus, for example, is very kind of human. It's by Claude. If you don't use Claude, it's great. And compared to, say, ChatGPT, it's a little less robotic, and it has a better appreciation of, like, for example, if I wanted to write welcoming text that people would enjoy, it's really good at that. ChatGPT has a very smart model they brought out yesterday. It's actually kind of brilliant, but it's very mechanical and very scientific, and that's called Codex 5.2. And annoyingly, there is this thing where you can then just end up learning all of those models. If you're using the web tools, the ones I'll show you in a bit, generally, okay, all right, well, it wrote it. Let's find out what happened, shall we? I think I've got browser here. T2, God knows. Right, who knows what this is going to look like? Invaders' revenge. For centuries, Earth has sent ships to destroy our kind. Today we fight back. You are the commander of the alien invasion fleet. I see, the thing is, I have to read this because I don't know how to play the damn game because you just invented it. Descend upon Earth and destroy their defenses. I mean, I do that every night, but okay. Move your mothership to protect the invasion force. Fire plasma bolts to eliminate the defenders below. Oh, wow. Okay, so I'm controlling the mothership. Okay, I can't actually play this one-handed, but still, that's pretty wild. I mean, yeah, okay. I mean, it seems a bit easy, but I do have the advantage that I'm like the alien fleet. Come on. Oh, try to do this one-handed. Seriously. All right, he's actually a bit sneakier than I thought he was. Come on, there we go. All right, excellent. Good job, AI. I mean, that was obviously the wildest and most, like, I did not see that prompt going. So you know that one was not prepared. Good job, sir. But the point is, how easy was that, right? Now, again, I'm using a Pro tool. One of the things you may not realize you can do is you can go into this and change it. So let's see that we, Let's say that we take that and, I don't know, what do we want to change? I want to make the stars move in the background or something. Can you make the stars in the background animate? Now, this is a pretty basic and or silly prompt. By the way, it's written 895 lines of code, which, for perspective, the average developer theoretically contributes about 100 a day, although that's kind of a misnomer, but whatever. And if you ever cared, you could actually look at what it's coding, which I wouldn't recommend unless you are actually a programmer, but you can actually pay attention and look at this, and you're like, have a look. There you go. It's writing code at this point to draw a star field as particles. It's not trivial, right? And again, this is one of those things. If you've never played with this stuff, it's easy to think that AI is dumber than it is. But AI is getting just a little bit silly now. All right, let's see if that works. Oh, it put stars in there. Now, this is actually a really good example. Because I wasn't very specific now, was I? Yeah, that didn't occur to me, but yeah. And this is actually the art, to some extent, because I'm doing terrible prompts right now. A proper prompt might have been something like, I could have taken a screenshot. So this is the thing you can do. So I could actually like draw around here, and I could take a screenshot, and I could say, I like this, but... Or there's entire tools where you can open this up in your browser and click on things, and this is a whole science in itself. But I'm not going to go into that just yet. Let's get back to it. So what did we do? We created a prompt, dead easy. We tested it, not particularly hard, and then we either undid what it did or repeated it. So I didn't need to undo that because it worked perfectly. But the thing that you'll sometimes get is you'll ask an AI to do a thing and it will do something slightly obnoxious or confusing, like maybe that star field. And you could try and correct it, but it's usually easier just to hit undo. Like, don't even waste your time having it uncode the thing it just coded, just remove it. Because computers can just move forward and backward in time like that. It's dead easy. That's pretty much the core. There's a lot of additional skills you can level on this, specifics about how you do the prompt, specifics about how you do planning, but the core loop is more or less just that, which is cool, but AI is not perfect. And I hate to tell you this, but neither are humans. You will have this experience, everyone will have this experience, where you're vibe coding and it's great, and then it goes wrong, and then you'll spend 20 minutes making this amazing game, and you'll spend an hour trying to fix a bug. At least at first, if you don't know how it works. That is a common frustration. Honestly, it's the same frustration real programmers have with their own code. This guy kind of went viral for all the wrong reasons. If you haven't seen his tweet, my SaaS was built with cursor, zero handwritten code. AI is no longer just an assistant. It's also the builder. Now you can continue to whine about it or start building. Yes, people pay for it. March 15th, 2025. 2 days later, guys, I'm under attack. Ever since I started to share how I built my SaaS using Cursor, random things are happening, maxed out usage on API keys, people bypassing the subscription, creating random shit on the database. As you know, I'm not technical, so this is taking me longer than usual to figure out. For now, I'll stop sharing what I do publicly on X. There are some weird people out there. Yes, that's the thing. Don't do that. Seriously. It's a genuine thing. If you are vibe coding, your security is probably on the edge, okay? So like, it's great to build a thing for yourself. It's great to build things in closed situations. If you're about to build a $10 million product, get a real programmer to look at it, please, at least for now. There are plenty of examples of vibe coding fiascos where AI agents have gone rogue and deleted your entire database. It doesn't happen very often. But it turns out, and also tech debt. Which, for those of you who haven't done programming in the past, technical debt is that the more code you build, kind of the more liabilities you're almost building. So like the complexity goes up and up and up, and it just becomes harder and harder to do anything with your product. And then at a certain point, it tends to kind of grind to a halt. So if you've ever wondered where like Microsoft have got like $3 trillion, but they still can't change Microsoft Word in less than like 3 years to have an assistant on the side or whatever, it's because of tech debt. It's just like at a certain point, the complexity is so high, it's really hard to change. So old software just costs more to maintain. AI has the same problem. The difference is it gets you there faster because vibe coding, where 2 engineers can now create the tech debt of at least 50 engineers. That's true. You can build these amazing features, but then you're creating a liability for yourself, which you then have to disentangle from later. So none of this is new problems. This is inherent to software. Programmers have known those exact same problems for 30, 40 odd years. Oh. Java update. Oh my God, could that have been any better timing? F off. Nobody likes you, Oracle. No one has ever wanted to update in the middle of a presentation. Oh my God. Where's Larry Ellison? Right, okay. These are not new problems. But with AI, they do require new solutions. And we are honestly figuring a lot of those out. Because the thing is, the velocity's gone up, right? And also the people who are now doing code often aren't traditional programmers, and they don't know these things. And so we're figuring out new and exciting ways to automate and improve those things. None of that, though, takes away from the miracle of vibe coding, the fact that it is genuinely miraculous. You can truly build, many people have, entire companies in weeks. That is a real thing. I've taught people, I've seen them do it. It is crazy. That is our reality now. You are going to end up seeing, might take 3 years, I don't know what, you're going to end up seeing a 15-year-old billionaire, self-made. It's going to happen. I mean, I don't know how long it'll take, but it's going to happen. Because there's no real barrier to this anymore. The hard part is knowing what to ask for, how to ask for it, and knowing what good looks like. It sounds trite, but that's actually most of the problem. It always was with software. It's just now by kind of removing a lot of the code, we're starting to really see it. So anyway, good job, humans. Do you have any questions? Oops, sorry. Apparently Skip to next slide. There we go. I'm going to put over to Q&A for a moment, and then after that, I'm going to work with you to actually get you building some stuff yourself. But before we get into that, is there anything you'd like to ask me? I think we have a spare mic. Do we have a spare mic? Okay, apparently we don't. I'll just walk around.
So just quickly, these are all web apps.
Yep.
Does it also do native
Yes.
platform developing? Like, does it plug into your environment and all that?
The question was, these were web apps. Does it also do native apps? Absolutely, yes. So you can do apps on an iPhone, for example. It's totally possible, or on a desktop. I will say it's harder. If you were starting, that's just true because it's harder as a general problem, right? The web is the easiest thing to program for because you can code it, run it on your computer, and then make it live typically in like 2 minutes. Whereas if you do an iPhone app and you want to make it live, you have to give 2 of your firstborn children to Steve Jobs' ghost. I believe is how it works. I don't actually know how that works, but anyway, those are the rules. I mean, you read the EULA of Apple when you... No, that's what it says. So yeah, it's doable, but it's just trickier. Anyone else?
Can I record you?
Sure. Can you what?
Yeah. Can I record you?
Can you record me? Yeah, sure.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay.
I'm recording you.
Okay.
I have meta classes.
Oh, you have okay.
I have 2 questions. So I was trying to create an app, and I started playing with Lovable and Base 44. But I end up noticing that you have to create a website with them. So it's not like they can, I can keep my website and then just have the app out of one of these. Is there any tool that you know that I can use without me having to get rid of my website or give control to it?
Sure. Okay. So to summarize, the question is, you're using Lovable, you've built a website, but it feels like you're locked into the platform once you've built it because they serve the website. So almost everything that you'll build in any of these platforms can be just pulled out and put somewhere else if you know what you're doing. Because if you're building a website, you're building HTML, you're building CSS, you're building standard things. Those are standard technologies that can be ported. So you'll probably, I can't remember Lovable, but I'm almost certain you can export it and import it into something else. They may not make it easy, and they certainly don't want you to think about it, but it's definitely doable. If nothing else, even if your website was just on the internet, you could go to another AI and you could say, hey AI, look at that website that's on the internet and steal its code. That'll work. Yeah.
I'll just add another question. Be careful because what they do is they tattoo their name onto that code, and then you can use AI and Cursor to get rid of it.
Okay, good point.
Or Lovable or basically they're all wanting to kind of...
Yeah, so the platforms definitely benefit from you not pulling code out because they want you to do it. But the thing about the web is you can go to any website, in case you didn't notice it, you can go to, I don't know, Facebook or something, and look at their code. And I'm not saying like stealing it, obviously there is a level where you literally copied Facebook, that's kind of breaking the law. But there's nothing stopping you from looking at like a Facebook button or whatever and being, I wondered how they made that so shiny. You can do that. If you wrote your own code, I believe you are well within your rights to take your own code out. But that's like a fallback of a fallback. I'd be very surprised if they don't let you export it. Very surprised. Like Manus lets you export it, so I'd be surprised if Lovable doesn't. They just don't want you to think that way. So, Facebook famously... Not litigious, yes. They're very chill, normal dudes at Facebook. Anyone else got any questions? We've got one more at the back.
I guess more of an observation. So I used Cursor a lot, and my bill was getting pretty excessive. I guess yours probably is similar. So I just swapped to Claude, and it kind of, now I never hit any rate limits. I code pretty much all day, every day. Just curious why you haven't sort of swapped over to something else.
Okay, so you're saying you tend to hit your rate limits, or well, you tend to spend a lot on Cursor, and you've moved to Claude Code, and it's a lot cheaper.
Still using Cursor.
Yep.
Now pay like $800 a month.
Oh, that's cute.
Cursor.
I've spent $1,500 this weekend.
Well, exactly right. So that's what I was like getting to, and then I was like, okay, well, bringing Claude Code inside Cursor, paying $200 a month for Claude Code,
Yeah.
never hitting any limits, and still using Optus for
So you're absolutely correct. So Claude Code is definitely more cost effective, no question. And I think for most people, it's the same. So Manus is the least cost effective out of all of these, but it's the most easy to use and it does the most work for you. Cursor is easier to use, I would say, than Claude Code. Claude Code is like kind of the hardest possible difficulty setting. It does give you more control. Personally, I do use both, but for most of my engineering team, Cursor's just got a slight edge. It's just like you're basically trading how much. It's like using Vim, if you know, or Vim or Vi or anything like that. It's more efficient at the edge, and we're maybe more price sensitive on developer time than we are on the cost of the AI. But it is a moving equation. I mean, I hate to say it, we were projecting this month, we were looking at like, we're going to pay like 35 grand a month on Cursor. And at that point, I'm starting to think, maybe we should. So.
You're still using the Cursor environment. You're still, you basically just like limiting yourself to just using Claude.
Right.
But it still does everything that Cursor's features would do. It just
Yeah, no, it's fair. I could not say that there's any one solution that you're going to stick with. This is such a free-moving ecosystem. Like, for the sake of argument, I'm just making this up. Imagine it's tomorrow and Grok comes out and they release Grok 17 and it's the best coding agent ever. Great, I've just dumped Cursor. If that's the case, right? Like, there isn't a lot of loyalty in it because it turns out the advantage of having a smarter model is so profound that everything else just doesn't matter. What would probably happen is if Grok came out, that Cursor would support it, so you wouldn't have to, but who knows? Yeah.
My platform is built on blockchain. Do you have experience in that and with this coding?
Blockchain is mostly going, where's my money gone?
Other than that, I'm so sorry lately. I hope you have.
Was it your fault? Was it your fault?
Oh, I'm hedged really well. I'm actually okay.
Okay, all right, good.
I hope you are too someday.
Well, it's all right. All right, I'm going to hand around a bit more. Sorry. I don't really have much experience in that area, I'm afraid. Sorry.
So when in this progression of using vibe coding, do you recommend you need a real developer or a software engineer in the loop for lifecycle management?
So when do you need a real software engineer? The answer to that question changes literally day by day. I would say like a year ago you needed it all the time. You need it less now. Like platforms are trying to make it easy so you just run one place, hit a button, goes live, etc. It really comes down to risk. Like if I was building something that accepts payments, for example, I wouldn't even, there's no way, I'm sorry. And like we actually do accept payments and we manually check that code like crazy. But then if you've got something and it's like, say you want to, I don't know, something really boring. You've got some data in your company and you just want to analyze it and you want to like build a little dashboard to visualize. So I run events and I have Luma and I just wanted a dashboard that showed me at home on my TV, just showed me how well are my events going so I could just see how many people attended, right? And it was just like an impulse thing. I'm like, I'm never going to pay someone to do that. But I did it in like 5 minutes or something. And then that, I don't care. I don't need to test that, right? But then again, if I was using that to ticket you guys and you're all paying me money, I'm going to get in, look at the code. So it's mostly risk, I'd say. How much can you afford for this to be wrong? Yeah, I'd say that's probably the answer for now. Mm-hmm. So I think the whole world of stuff like DevOps, and that's like the engineers who specifically help you get products live and on the internet or whatever, that is changing, and at the moment it's lagging behind the engineering. So like the engineering is much faster than making things live. I think that gap's going to start to close pretty soon, but we will see. I can hope. I'm gonna go around more the back. Oh, there we go. I was getting my cardio in. Carry on.
Hello, hello.
Hello.
Awesome, thank you. I was wondering about the tech debt question. And then is there a way or any best practices about like componentizing the code or like building smaller chunks if you have a bigger picture of what you're trying to build so that you don't end up with the messy code and the tech debt? Or are there any best practices? Or there was a startup doing that too.
Absolutely. No, it's honestly, this is a question that affects everyone from like brand new devs to super senior and running whole teams. as best as I can tell you, and the answer has changed at least twice in the last 6 weeks. But I'm not kidding. Like, it's just that fast. Best strategy right now is a kind of a cycle of build something quickly, which is great, and then take a conscious period of time where the only thing you're going to try and do is clean up. And you'd actually be surprised at this point how good the AI is figuring out itself what to clean up. So it used to be, and I still do this, as like senior engineer, I will look myself. But increasingly it's like, you might say something like, okay, we've got this product, it looks great, works great, maybe it's a little bug in some places. I want you to look at the code, and I want you to make the suggestions, like the top 3 things that seem to be the biggest indications of technical debt that you would suggest that we could spend some time on, whatever, and then explain them to me, the consequences, the costs, etc., whatever, and just work on those. As crazy as that sounds, building test coverage and then just routinely taking time to go back and do it better. The one thing I've noticed AI programmers are terrible at is they never redo a thing. So if you tell them to program like that Space Invaders game, and then you say you want it in a different color, they'll just change color, that's fine. But if you say, oh, I want it to become a game of Tetris, they almost won't delete the old game. They'll kind of keep the old game, and then they'll go, oh, let's add a Tetris on the side, then hide the old game. And they'll do stuff like that, right? And they're doing it because they're trying to hedge their bets against some downside. But the problem is, if you do that, 10,000 lines of code a day for a whole ton of engineers, pretty soon you've got this garbage pile, and you've got all these side effects and things you're not expecting. So you kind of have to just literally go, look at this code and tell me, does it suck? And where does it suck? And can you fix it? And there's a whole stack of new companies trying to solve that problem. Cursor's also got a thing in, and so's Codex. It's got a thing in when it reviews pull requests, and it'll try and help you. But it's a real challenge. We've got one at the back. How do I think vibe coding is going to change the experience from regular e-commerce to live selling? By live selling, do you mean in real life?
No, I mean having an app where you go live and people can buy things directly in the app experience.
Oh, I see. So instead of using a platform like Shopify, people would build their own thing. Yeah, we're seeing this trend a lot. So like my company pays for a CRM type, not CRM, but something in that space, kind of system, the sort of thing that costs, lots and lots of money every year, annual contract, all that kind of boring stuff. And recently we were looking at the renewal and just going, we can program the stuff we need in like a week. And that's literally cheaper than renewing by an order of magnitude. And honestly, we'll get something better. So goodbye. And I think we're going to see a lot of that. Like, there's a lot of apps where the barrier was nobody could do it before. And I don't know, see, this is an interesting one because it's kind of to the point of risk. Like, put it this way, what's the barrier to ChatGPT replacing most of your doctors? Because like technically, on paper, ChatGPT is a lot better at diagnostics than most doctors. It's literally, like, there's research, right? It's better most of the time. But do you want it to carry the risk of that? And so it's the kind of space here where it's like, well, if I use Shopify, I've got someone who's taking the risk of, oops, my credit card system got stolen or broken or hacked or whatever. That's kind of what you're paying for in part. That's probably what they're going to lean on for a while. So unless the AI gets good enough that you just don't even think about it, it's the same problem with self-driving cars. You've got to trust them at that level. Not quite there yet, but I think it will probably come. All right, I think one more question at most, and then I'm going to just actually get you guys to build something. You can't procrastinate forever, guys.
So just piggybacking on that, which is, if you were building AI apps at a scale, how would you... I
don't know who I'm talking to. Oh, you're here somewhere. Oh, there you are. Sorry. Yeah.
Sorry. How would you alter it to be modular? Is there anything that's modular design so you can have the non-critical parts be AI-based and the critical parts be locked in through a programmer? So just hybrid coding?
You can, but like I said, so like, again, 6 months ago, even 3 months ago, that's what I did, right? So I'm really not kidding. It sounds absurd, right?
No, I'm with you. I've been following
like it, in the last 5 weeks, more has happened than happened in the previous 6-9 months, and then in like the last year, more happened than like the last 5, and it's just like it's insane. And so much happened recently that I no longer do that, basically. Literally, it's delegation the whole way down. Like, I write maybe 1 in 5,000 lines of code at this point. Maybe less than that.
So you just keep an eye on the security and the payment infrastructure? Like,
so think of it like if you had a team of humans and you're not a programmer, right? Or even if you are, you'd be like, hey team, I asked you to build this, and they say, oh yeah, it's good. And I'm like, okay, but can you check your work? And then they go, oh, we found something. You're like, uh-huh. Can you check it again? Oh, we found something else. Keep going until you start finding things, right? You start like that. And you'd be things like, hey, to another AI, how would you hack this app? And it goes, oh, I'd go for this enormous security hole. I'm like, well, can you fix that, please? So I know it sounds crazy, but the thing that humans have done for years, because really, just think of the AI as just a bunch of extra humans. Like, you've got the same problem with humans making mistakes. We've always had that. It's just now you can run them a lot quicker.
thanks.
One last question for this guy.
Yeah, and it actually piggybacks on that. So, this obviously is something that changes all the time now, but how do you think about teams in very large projects, in an enterprise setting, right? Where you had these traditional teams, you had an architect, you had a back-ender, you had a front-ender, you had a QA, you had a product person. How do you right now think about like what those teams look like,
Okay. So, good question. I've been thinking about that a lot because we've had to change it. The most obvious is that everyone's getting some access to this kind of thing. So our product designers now write code. They don't have to be great at programming, but they can build a prototype themselves. Our support staff, literally end support, can write code, or they can talk to an agent to ask the program, hey, I'm having this bug, why? Or do we support this feature? So stuff like that's crazy, right? But there's this general flattening, and you see it with AI as well. Like, I think nurses are getting more like doctor level expertise or like whatever, like specialist medical expertise. Everyone's kind of got a personal expert. With this, that just removes a ton of friction. Like my COO recently wrote a whole product line thing, just internal tools. I mean, he shouldn't be, but it's like, it turns out that's actually just quicker. He was looking at all these finance problems and going, well, I can talk to my accountant, but in less time, I can just build the thing that solves the problem. And then he just does. So it's like it's giving everyone crazy powers. In the same way, if you went back, I don't know, early 90s or something, and you'd have to explain to people, oh, you're going to have this thing called a computer, and it's going to have all the world's knowledge on it, and it's going to be basically free all the time. Oh, and you can write documents. Oh, you know that thing that we put ink onto a piece of metal and we press it in to do a print? You're going to have that, but it's going to magically come out on pieces of paper, and you're going to send signals to it through the air. You're like, what the heck? Like, it's crazy. It's that kind of magnitude of change. It's just compressed into probably 1/50th as much time. So, good time to be alive. Anyway, I'm going to wrap there. Thank you, guys. I am going to one additional slide. So this is my suggestion for if you want to stick around and try and build something. So there are 3 website platforms here that you can try. Well, this one's the thing you install. These 2 will just run on the web. So that's a 0. I know it looks like VO, but it's V0. V0.app. V0.app is free. It is the least capable platform here, but it is free. You don't need to sign up. You don't need to do anything. And if you do want to sign up, it's normally $20 a month, but right now it's $2 a month, which is probably because they know it's the weakest. But it's still, you can still build stuff. You could build a game, you could build an app, you could build a website. Don't get me wrong, it's not bad, it's just the least capable here. And like, least capable might mean it's 2 months behind the rest, but that's just how fast things are moving. Manus is kind of voodoo magic, if I'm being honest. There's a reason that Meta just bought it for like $2 billion. To give you an idea, Manus, I believe, went from 0 in revenue to 100 million in 8 months. So if you've heard, now to achieve that level of growth, they built something kind of impressive. You should try it. It's pretty good. But again, that will get you. I'm just going to warn you, Manus is great, but it's kind of like going into Vegas. And like, oh, this looks like fun. I'll just try this gambling. How bad can it? Oh my God, where's my credit card? Right? It's that. So like, I believe one of my colleagues is here, and he will now. So Tyler here, well, he can tell the story. Oh God, he's actually built something. He's done it. So you had never vibe coded or programmed at all, VP of marketing, by the way, on Saturday, and you signed up for, was it $20?
So I started I founded a nonprofit about 5 years ago, and we've been heavily dependent on some third-party tools that are very expensive. So on a whim, I said, I'm going to purchase Manus, $20. I'll figure out where it needs to go from here. By the end of the weekend, I was $700 deep, but I had rebuilt that entire piece of software, deployable, something I would show a prospect, someone that I would show an investor. I mean, it was truly, it was amazing, the whole process. And now I had to explain to my wife how I went from $20 a month to $700. But I was like, it's going to be worth it. No, I think that ostensibly what has happened is every person that says I can't build that because I'm a non-technical founder, that barrier has just been removed. It doesn't matter what you've always wanted. I even told my brother, he said, will you help me build my website? I said, absolutely not, but I'll show you 2 tools that'll do it for you and deploy it. So I think that that's the future that we're headed. So. Yeah.
What did you use?
Manus. Yeah.
And what is a nonprofit?
And then the last one is Cursor. So Cursor is what I use. So if you're a programmer, Cursor is the one I recommend. People may disagree, but it's the most popular. It writes billions of lines of code a day, and it gives you the most power. But it's also the hardest to use here. So if you're not a programmer, I'd probably avoid it. If you are, or a bit more technical, if you're like comfortable around things like command lines and stuff, use Cursor. It's great. And that's starts from $20 a month. All of them have free trials, but Manus will ask you for a credit card to start a free trial. I don't think Cursor does that unless they've changed it. And V0, you can just go there and use it off the website. You don't even need to do anything. So, yeah. And I encourage you, if nothing else, just go into one of those and type in a thing. Just ask for a thing. It's not that hard, just one sentence. You can do more, but start there. And then it begins a journey of self-discovery, because it may seem trivial, but there's an entire world of skill in getting good at that. And it may be, in fact, ultimately the only skill we end up having left. So, yes. I'm going to walk around if anyone wants to ask me questions. Otherwise, thank you so much. I've been Oliver Emberton. You can find me on all the things. Oh, I'm going to take a photo, because I want to take a photo. Where's my phone gone? Sorry. This is me being cool on all the, it's, what is it called? MySpace? There we go. Cool.
Okay. Let me take a picture.
Yeah?
Somewhere on this, and then
All right, okay. I could be dropping the mic.
Okay, smile. One more. Okay, thank you guys. We have 15 more minutes for tequila, and we have to leave before 8. So thank you.
I wouldn't recommend using this solution. Yes, there's also a two
I don't know if you saw it, but I sent you and the other 2 guys, I forgot their name. I sent each of you a message on the meetup. Because that's fine. This was this afternoon. Someone left a comment. I got an email that said someone left a comment on the event page. So I went to the event page and it wasn't there anymore. But then the email said someone was like, I have this old MacBook Pro 2020 and I don't need it anymore. So, and they left a phone number. So I was like, did you give away that computer yet? They replied and they said, no, I haven't. But I'm not in town anymore. I can ship it to you if you're willing to pay for the shipment. I was like, all right, this now is like really suspect. But it's like,
having issues with like hackers and events, like sometimes like people are just like scraping the events or like live events or like someone showing up and doing great shit. But maybe that's why it got moved. Like,
right. And I don't know. I was wondering, like, did Meetup take it down, or did you guys take it down?
One of us did an event marketing
I'm just curious because I've never seen anything like that on that platform. You know what I mean? But it's like nothing is safe, right?
Yeah, all regular people took it down, or if they verify it, but they were telling me still. Obviously,
But if you probably got an email. 'Cause I saw it, like I got an email that said someone left a comment on the event. And I was like, huh, it's not on the event, but it's like here. That was great yesterday. I'm really happy I came. Well, I'm following you guys.
why would I not listen? I got these like I do a lot. I see that you're working. He showed me. I was like, that is awesome. I wish. Yeah, the thing is, like, if you compare, right, a Lamborghini is crazy expensive. Like, it wasn't really just like right? So I would buy a Lamborghini. If you told me I could have $10 grand, I'll buy a Lamborghini because I'm like $10 grand, right? So like, if I'm spending $10,000 on that and I'm getting these 150 back, I will broke. Yeah, that's what's happening. So I'm like, yeah, but now because when you get more kind of value back, yeah, the trick is I just don't want to ask them. I want to do all this stuff. I don't want to do a lot of these stuff anymore, but it's just keep it going. You know what I mean? with that, we are building something right? So like, you know, like these platforms, we're building something about content for platforms. Not no, so it's like, okay, normal software, nothing like this, right? But imagine, so like, first, just to go at like top 0.01% of difficulty and whatever, and they've got tens of millions, hundreds of millions invested in that, right? So if you're building that level, then yeah, you might be dropping 30, 40 grand, but you don't care enough compared to what you're actually saving. Right? That's the only way to get it. So like, I don't necessarily, it sounds like a lot of money, but it's relative, right? Without the AI, it would have cost like, I don't know, you could do like two million just so, right? So like, I'm like, I don't actually care. Like 40 grand is cheap, right? Yeah, you can talk to him about it. I've seen his app. It's not true. And Atlantis is the most expensive way to do it. Like, it depends how you do it. Like, but they're all going to show you what you're spending. Drop. Just in the same way you struggle with the humans. So you can come to me and say, oh, I can't like this forever. I could try and make it work, but then I wouldn't necessarily know that you're going to see it change. You wouldn't know either. So you don't trust me. Just look, you think, yes, $20, or you've done a free trial, it's free. See what you get for like $10. You go on that, and then like multiply it out. But unless you're building right. I mean, like, you can do a lot with 20, like a lot. But it's just, if you want to build a new Twitter, for some reason, right? That would probably cost you, yeah, tens of thousands to do properly. Well, it's a complexity, but again, it depends. Something is either kind of hard to make, something that sounds hard to read, something that sounds really hard. Like, it's really easy to get like some reason and like, if you were building Twitter and you just wanted to build Twitter for you and like 100,000 people, that's pretty easy to do. If you wanted to build Twitter for the whole world, incredibly hard. Even though it sounds like the same problem, because you've got like distributing stuff around, it doesn't matter. But chances are you're not actually building a $40 billion company, and if you're not, then you don't need to worry about it. So, I mean, you can drop $20 and see what happens, right? I mean, the way you're paying for it to think, right? So that's why it's called investment. Because if you're like saying, write me some game, you're saying, create me a new, I don't know, thing that's never been done, and you're going to go back and forth. Well, again, it depends. If you're doing like changing it design-wise, that's actually pretty cheap. If you're like, I built Facebook and I now want to, I don't know, translate it into 20 languages, that might be hard. But it's actually not that, it's actually not hard. Well, it isn't actually, that isn't really hard. But my point is, it's just very difficult to categorize a problem. Yeah, it's like imagine you find a person steroid, right? Doesn't really matter. They don't actually. Here's the irony. You can ask them, but they'll give you estimates based on feelings, which is actually hilarious. So you can ask it how long to write a feature, and it'll say, oh, like 4 to 6 weeks, because it's learned from human behavior, and then it'll do it in like 10 minutes. So honestly, there's no substitute for trying. Like, you supposed to do ads, they want like $100, right? Okay, I wrote, no, but that's, okay, I did something very not true. No, I didn't understand, that's like 4.41 percentile, crazy. not right. I'm building my own frontier level AI right now, among other things. I'm using AI to accelerate the development of AI, and I'm trying AI platforms in order to accelerate the development of those platforms. And so that level of complexity, and also I'm a complete bean to programming 38 years, so like it's a weird thing. That's not normal. I understand what's going on. Yeah. I mean, the thing is, you may not be able to ask the exact dollar amount, but you can definitely say it's as easy as it's hard. You do those things. But like, if it's all ChatGPT, it's out there. So what? Yeah. So right, I don't want to put it off. In a weird way, it's a little bit like the person who wants to ask someone out. The thing is, someone can sit there and be like, so I want to ask this person out, but first I need to study female psychology, and then I need to learn everything about her, and then I need to study everything, and then I'm going to go to the gym for 6 months, and then I'm going to go over there and do the thing, right? And like, you can sit here and you can theorize all the reasons why it might, but it can't spend money you don't give it, right? It's not going to steal it from your credit card. You have to pay it so that it's spend it. You have to approve it. You can set it up so it's automatically you spend the money. You can do that. But like you can't. It's fully transparent. You can see every second you do something. You just go to the billing and it'll show you. It's nice. And also, by the way, whatever it is now, it looks out. Like apparently, Solid 5 is coming out tomorrow, which is another AI thing. No one can fly. I work in this conventionally in a so like, I just get on the train. No. Yes. Does anyone ever say that? Actually, they do. Look, I got people who I don't know. No, I don't agree. That's fine. I mean, so I do a lot of events like this, so what you want is age of AI ATMs. But if you do, it's great. I just LinkedIn to me is just, I know, it was a joke. But I just get a lot of people sending me. Yeah, no, that's the webinar stuff and my stuff. So I do like a whole stack of events. I'm doing monthly speaking gigs, and I do every 2 weeks or so I teach my course. So that's the thing.
You did something! That's what you're doing!
Okay. Alright, well I'm going to sneak out of here. Yeah, it's nice to meet you. Good talk, sir. I'll see you in the morning. All right, see you. Right.